All right, welcome again, everyone, and to those who just joined us, where we'll now start this first Women in Art conversations. We will have some key speakers that I will introduce. We know that some people will join us later on, and that's fine. They will be taking the train as it goes. So we're all very happy from the Women in Art team to all welcome you and to welcome our speakers. Maybe before starting and introducing our speakers, I suggest that we just say one word about the Women in Art Conversation series. So the Women in Art Conversation is there to open up the debate regarding women artists in the art sector in general. The Women in Art Conversations for the moment and due to the COVID also are mostly taking place online, but in the future this will also be physical gatherings as soon as the COVID allowed to do so. We will, for this session, tackle one particular key topic, which is women artists and the art market. But of course, many subjects are to be discussed amongst those subjects. There is the question of women in art, in the art history, women and artists, and museum collections and galleries, women artists and education. Anyway, a lot of subjects that needs to tackle. We need to tackle and discuss, and to come up with also future solutions to improve this situation of giving not only more visibility but the place women artists deserve in the art world. Today's topic is women in art and the art market. And we really believe this is a critical subject. We will look at some key data and evidence that prove that we're still quite far from reaching some parity between women in art and male artists. But before introducing the context and diving into the subject, I would like to introduce our speakers of this session. So this session is, I will be the moderator of it. I'm Christophe Gouache. I'm a designer working on public innovation. We also have Jemima Kulumba. I think most of you are familiar with her, as she's the founder of Women in Art. I don't know if, Jemima, you want to say just a quick hi and hello? You can turn on your video and your mic. Maybe having some technical problem. So we also have, and Jemima will maybe say a word right after. We also host Ola-dele Kuku, who is an African artist. Ola, are you there? Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thank you for joining. We also host Zaahirah, who is based in Dubai. Zaahirah, are you here also? Yes?
Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining. And we also have Eman Hussein, who is an artist and joining us. Eman, are you there?
Yes, hi, hello everyone.
Hi. All right, and we do have some special guests. I don't know if they are here already. We will look at whether they're here. Let me check as we're waiting for extra people, but they might be joining us in a few minutes. I don't know if Jemima, you're connected with us. Maybe not. The mic is off. All right, maybe when the technical problem is solved. Jemima will be able to say a few words. All right, so I suggest that we do dive right in the topic. As you know, one of the topic is women in art and the art market. And we know that the art market has not been so keen on women artists and women artworks. Actually, the context is that in general, and we'll see some numbers, women artworks are less exhibited, less collected, less bought, and paid less than those made by male. And this is a critical issue, as we believe in women in art that, of course, their art is not worth less than those of male artists. And we're very far from having even a balance and from parity. The ArtNet organization has made analysis. There are many more studies on this unbalance between women and male artists. And there is this striking data, which is that actually female artists represent just 2% of the art market in terms of value. Here's actually the numbers and the proportion of the worldwide auction sales. So auctions where artworks are being sold. Out of those $196 billion, only 2%, sorry, 4 billion is actually artworks from women. And according to the joint investigations that have been done by several organizations, it is clear that the art market is massively giving greater value to artworks produced by men than those made by women. So we have a context of largely male-dominated art auctions. We will see and discuss, of course, why and what are the many causes, and try to see what could be done. This is the context in worldwide art auctions, but it's actually also not so balanced and not so equal in art fairs. Art fairs are also key places to sell art for artists, and roughly in general, we count around 25% of women artworks in worldwide art fairs, like the one of the Art Basel, which is quite known in the world. And even in galleries, art galleries, the numbers do differ a lot from one gallery to another, from one country to another. But in general, the galleries rarely go higher than 35% of women representation. And what you do have, and you will see that during the presentation, what you have on the side of the screen, on the right side, are posters made by a collective called the Gallery Tally. And it's artists, journalists, etc., making those posters, highlighting one key gallery and giving the percentage of male and women. So that explains the poster on the right here about one gallery in London having 85% of representations of XY, meaning male, and XX for women. So worldwide art auctions, not so equal, even art fairs and even art galleries. So that gives us quite some difficulty. And we do also have, on top of all of that, a gender wage gap. What does it mean? It means that actually works made by women or works made by a male are not paid the same. Actually, it's not only in art. Unfortunately, we know it's also true with work, daily work wages, that female wages tend to be lower. And this is also true in the arts sector. And male is, in our quite male-dominated society, naturally better. And this is one of the key problems we're facing. There's been some incredible studies that have been done. One experiment has been done where in Oxford University, one professor, Renee Adams, made some computer-made artworks, so completely fictional artworks made by computers. Each artwork was given a fake artist name, male or female, and the test was done with 2,000 participants, and in particular, the wealthiest participants all rated those artworks with a higher value when they saw it was made by a male artist. Even though all that was completely fictional, there was a huge bias because naturally they would give more value to male artists. So this is quite critical. So let's start with maybe one key question to our speakers. We know that also the market for art by women is not only smaller, but it's also disproportionately concentrated on a few artists. As I was showing you earlier, I said that 2%, so the $4 billion spent on women artists, is actually not fairly distributed among women artists. We have some kind of stars of women artists, and amongst those 4 billions, so those tiny 2%, 40%, so nearly half of those 4 billion is only shared between 5 big major women artists: Yayoi Kusama, Joan Mitchell, Louise Bourgeois, Georgia O'Keeffe, and Agnes Martin. So even in that tiny portion of women artists, we have kind of a star system which highlights just a few very famous women. So now, since we've seen that, we know, of course, that the competition is very high for women artists, also since there are fewer seats available for them. So there is little space for them to express, to be present in art fairs, to be present in art auctions. So there is a huge, fierce competition between women artists to get to those that tiny spot where they can act. So there is this superstar effect, which kind of also makes us have a wrong understanding of the situation, because we believe the situation is getting better as the prices are going up, etc. But this is actually true only for a few superstar women artists. So now I will stop now here just to have some reactions from our 3 speakers about what we just saw, about the place of women in the art market. What's your experience on that? What's your feelings about it? So if any of our 3 speakers want to react, Zaahirah, Ola, or Eman, or share some experience already on those first bits, and then we will continue further.
All right, I'll start. So good afternoon again, everybody. My name is Zaahirah. Just a little bit an introduction about me. I'm the founder of The Arts. I'm also an artist, activist, curator, philanthropist. At the same time, I'm the founder of an art initiative called Art Connects Women, which we have launched it in 2017. Later on, maybe we get the chance to talk more about it. For my side, the statistic of the past few decades confirm that the art world is not gender friendly. So works by female artists comprises a small share, as you said, Christophe, of major permanent connection, while during the auction, women's artwork sells for a significant amount discount compared to male. Only 2%, you mentioned it earlier, only 2% of works by women have been broken into the top 100 auction sales of painting. This has been the case since the very inceptions in the years in the 1870s. And the worst part is this equality still persists today. So to respond to your questions, why work made by female artists still value lesser by male artists, I think there are multiple reasons associated to, but one of the primary reasons, I mean, you touch based a little bit on it, it's because the gender gap in wages exists, not only in the artwork, obviously, but also in the labor market generally in different workforce. Women involvement in the labor market began to surge in the 1970s. And since that time, economists and sociologists have thought to account for the differences in compensation between male and female workers. When we talk about women artists as well, I think we should take into consideration that it also involves musician, singer, producer, architect, because they're all facing the same hiccups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Yeah. Ola or Eman, do you want to share some thoughts with us on this first aspect?
Sure. I would like to point out that the problems we're facing now, they have been there throughout history. So in order to like approach and like try to make change, we need to like go back and try to solve the gaps that are there in the history books, female artists that have been like completely written out of the history books. And there are names that are there that recently some efforts have been made to like put them out there to have like exhibitions for these women artists who have been like, their names are not that familiar to us as male artists. So, and I believe that change needs to happen on like different levels. If like big institutions, some of the big institutions have been like trying to acknowledge the problem recently, but these are recent efforts that are trying to solve problems that have been there since the like Renaissance. So trying to solve these gaps is like, there's a timeline that, and we'll find so many gaps that are spread out, and in order to change needs to happen on so many levels. So first of all, like big institutions, something like Tate Modern or like Sotheby's, some attempts have been like put artists forward, and even like 500 years later exhibit for some of the names that should have been prominent throughout the history. So that's on a level of big institutions. And small like galleries, commercial galleries, they need to work in parallel. So there's big institutions, small galleries, and third is the virtual platform. Yep. And which I think that women are starting to like have a good exposure on virtually. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Where the art market doesn't really control the virtual world with pricing and you know, things that have been built on like historical records.
Mm-hmm. And that's very true. And we will see also some cases from key institutions who've taken very bold steps in trying to counter or to rebalance in some way the issue. Ola, do you want to share some reflections also from your side? And please also say a few words about yourself.
Yes, hello. My name is Ola-dele Kuku. I'm an artist, and I've spent a lot of time of my professional career on the notion of conflict, you know, and this is just a little fraction of what conflict is all about, you know, and I think fundamentally we have to look at this from a very comprehensive point of view, you know. We cannot eliminate a problem experienced by women from problem itself, if you know what I mean. So if we say women artists, that's one little problem. There's women with cancer. There's women with, there's a lot of more serious problems, if you know what I mean. When you talk about conflict, and taking this as part of a conflict situation. So it's nothing new. The fundamental principle of our existence is based on hierarchy, from God to the stones, So, and everything in between. Somewhere there's men, somewhere there's women, but no two things occupy the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I say so, that's the way it is, And so I think first and foremost, when we talk about things like that, we have to first unsex ourselves, first of all. We cannot be men or women talking about gender. There is bias immediately. You see, that's about conflict itself. You cannot be something fighting for that thing. In reality, as sensible as it sounds, it's also as senseless as it sounds. So when we talk about that also, we have to see what part, or what do we really mean about women in art? You see, that's also a very defined community. It's still not a general problem. I'm looking from the point of somebody dealing with conflict, you see. So if you want to see why some things don't really have attention like you might think they should have, you must just open your mind a little bit more to see how heavy is that. You see what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christophe, can I add something?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yes, on what Kuku just mentioned, I think there is another factor as well that may be biased for some, is that we usually consider women to be at home, taking care of children, cooking, and so for them, art is a second job, and for some, it's just a passion. While if a man is an artist, for him, it's a full-time job. So this concept mindset is
also on the culture. We should not also, we have to, again, coming from a background dealing with conflict. You see, there's some cultures, regardless if you're a man that's masculine, you cannot be an artist, period. I mean, that's job of a painter, a dropout, depends on where you're from. So we cannot take the fact that there's this kind of liberal view to it. Also women in art. In some culture, a woman cannot call herself an artist. What kind of job are you doing to be an artist? So there are other factors also.
Definitely. Eman, you wanted to add something on that.
I did not.
You're based in Egypt. It's important to say it also.
Okay. I did not introduce myself. I am an architect also, and an artist, and I live in Egypt. So I come from a Eastern cultural background, and I have faced problems being an artist more than being an architect to start with. But as an architect, having a job as an architect, I lead a design studio. I'm a partner in a design studio, which is one of the leading companies in Egypt. And I find I face so many difficulties as a woman in my field, as an architect, as an engineer. For a woman to be heard from other men, from old men that are older in age, for decision making makes a difference from a male or a female. And there's so much obstacles in my job as an architect, more than my job as an artist. Okay. I'm also a full-time artist. I do both simultaneously, and I am represented by a gallery here in Egypt. It's called Ubuntu Art Gallery, and I have had solo exhibitions and things like that. As a woman here living in Egypt, it is much more accepted for a woman to be an artist more than a male to become an artist, because as a woman, it is looked upon as something that I'm following my passion. I can do it on my free time, and it's like looked upon as something decorative. You know, the awareness here in Egypt is not regarding art is not very like known of. So it's accepted very much for a woman to become an artist and to like pursue her passion for as long as she wants, but it's not looked upon as a serious professional career.
It's it's your hobby.
Exactly, it's looked upon as a hobby. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Let's.
I think Christopher, there is one more point which is important, and we tend to forget it, is because there is less research published as well on work of women artists, which makes it more difficult to create value around it.
Absolutely.
So I think we need to lobby a bit our art writers and historians to, you know, to encourage them to write about our female artists.
This is very true, and actually this is improving quite a lot, and we will see some examples. We do have now more and more organizations that take steps in making, in registering all the artworks made by women, in making historical records, etc. And we absolutely, as you say, need that. And it's true also that at the same time, we do have some institutions that are trying to rebalance the whole thing backward. But it's true also that for the moment, it's also very linked to, and we will see some concrete cases, linked to personal strong steps taken by directors of some key galleries, etc. And it's quite good. We also observe some young, both male and female researchers conducting data research and analysis on the topic. But that's very true also that we're lacking a lot of data regarding women artists. Ola, do you want to add something? You raised your hand.
Yes, just to say there's something interesting the lady just mentioned, which is value. You see, yes, of course, that in art is everything. You can create value in art. See, that's the advantage also. And today there's different definitions to the artist also, you see. So art is not just who paints or who works today. Art is about the people in charge of art also. And they're more artistic today than the artists, especially in making money and in dictating how, what's the criteria for value, you know? So I'm an artist myself, but I've always talked about the confinement of art into galleries, into museums. And when this age of confinement, art belongs outside. What's the use? The value, it's not about a confined space, what it means in a gallery. No, you know, the value of art goes beyond that confined space. And
absolutely, and that's a critical point that you're saying here. And we also know, and we will of course open the debate later on with all our participants. And I know we have some people working in galleries, working in different institutions, but it's a very clear point, and this is also why there is this. The first conversation is taking place on women artists and in the art market on this specific question, and it's very much related to what you just said, which is that the art market is also a very tiny elitist world related to art collectors, art auctions, etc., but not a very wide and public accessible and democratic space. It's a very elitist thing. We do have some more data here, as you see on the screen. The studies that have been made in the US for 10 years have showed that out of the 260,000 artworks that were bought by the 26 major museums and art institutions, for example, here in the US, only 29,000 were women artworks. And within those US museums, 85% of works are made by white male. But we do have, and I want to point that also that everyone's saying the situation is getting better. Yes, but we are still extremely far from getting much better. The last studies have been showing that in the last 10 years, the sales for women artworks have doubled. Incredible, they have doubled, but they went from 1% to 2%. The Art Basel Fair, is happening worldwide in different locations, and not only in Basel, but also in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong has been one of the places where it grew the most. And in the last 4 years, it grew from 21% of female artists to 26%. So yes, there is change, but that change is also very, very slow and quite limited. And that is also what the Dia Art Foundation director says when she says there is a perception that change is so substantial, but in reality, it's not that case, since we still have a huge imbalance and some kind of radical gesture is required. So I would like to just give one example and then to reopen to you speakers that this question of radical gestures. I want to give you two bold steps, and I think that that goes very much into our subject in saying that we need to have some radical changes, but how do we do it? The Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts in 2013 had a very bold strategy. It is both a museum and a school, and they decided to sell one of their most major artwork from Edward Hopper that everyone knows, and they sold their artwork for $40 million. And since they sold that painting from Edward Hopper, they have massively, since 2013, invested in artworks made by women, as well as artists of color, because this is also, even within our topic, a kind of a sub-challenge that is very critical also, which is this question of white dominance. So here it's been a really strong step, and they're still not at 50-50, but they have massively invested through this major sold they made into works by women and by artists of color. And the last case is the Dia Art Foundation. The new director in 2015 has decided to, again, also massively acquire women-made artworks. Before her arrival, in 7 years, only 11 works that the foundation, the museum has bought were made by artists. In since 2015, she has made 177 new accusations of works by women in just 4 years. So I just want to share those two examples. There are, of course, more examples, but those are some examples of bold, inspiring institutions and galleries who says, stop, we need to massively kind of take a radical change in order to reach a bit more balance, because we're far from it. And it's not by doing small steps that we will get to it. So I would like to have your reactions, speakers, to this question of taking kind of radical steps. We know we also have in the Women in Art group of actors, people like, for example, Ariel Dauterive in Brussels. She has had a gallery for 10 years. It's 100% women artists only in her gallery. There is the Museum of Women in Art in Washington, who opened in '87, entirely dedicated to women artists. So how do you react to that type of kind of radical steps? You're on mute. You're on mute, Zaahirah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think from my perspective, galleries need to bear the responsibility of correcting these biases, because there is a structural issue in that galleries don't represent enough women in their programs for multiple reasons. But we need to also edges, because if galleries will take the initiative to bring more women artists, I think we need parallel to educate the collectors. We need to comfort them with quality works, research, and also availability. You talk about museum as well. Women make up a majority of professional art museum staff. Despite recent gain, they remain underrepresented in the leadership position. So also in the leadership roles, women are lesser represented. And if I come back to galleries, as you mentioned earlier, some galleries also mentioned that women have made art that is less easily commodified than that of men. Again, is it bias? Yes or no? So it's a debate. From us in Dubai, we have also a branch in Mauritius. For the Art Connects Women, we have been promoted more than 400 women since our inception from around the world, from Africa, Europe, Middle East, America, Asia. This is an annual art initiative, but also for our online gallery. And our main focus is mainly on women. So basically, we promote female artists in all our initiatives. And we were the first gallery representing Middle Eastern artists at Carousel du Louvre in Paris. And what we did as well, we promote female artists in our gallery. So we have given them the opportunity. Unfortunately, this year we are not able to participate because of the current pandemic. But yeah, so we have women in our agenda, and we are doing just little bits of it. But just us, things will not move. It should have a collective global efforts. If all galleries, curators, art dealers, art agents, so if everybody speak the same language, I think things will be in a better position moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Eman or Ola, do you want to add some reflections on this question of radical steps towards a greater balance?
Yes, please. Sorry, I was on mute. I actually think it's a great idea for institutions like the 2 case studies or examples you just gave us. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, great. This radical action taken is quite effective, I think, to buy art made by women and try to create this gender or correct the gender imbalance that is there on the market. However, I would like to point out that we're not supposed to take this battle with the same weapon that has hurt us as women. I'm talking now from a standpoint of a woman. Maybe we need to correct things from a financial perspective in the market, from bring more awareness and some radical steps to be taken like that. But then the idea of approaching the problem with being on separate sides as a gender, male or female, is already a problem in itself. I'm being a little bit philosophical now, but women need to we need to talk about parity and balance between no gender involved. We need to approach whatever is to come with this mentality, not take it from a battle from a point of view of women as sided together against males or something like that. Of course, some radical steps need to be taken to repair some damage that has already been done, but then the approach moving forward needs to be quite neutral. No gender, no identity. Of course, I'm talking about utopia, I'm speaking from a different place now, which might not be so realistic. but I think it's something I wanted to share.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that. What I'm sharing on the screen also is some very key statistics. There were some questions in the chat. First, regarding the differences in between countries and whether the situation was roughly the same all over the world or not. The answer is, in general, yes. We do not have like one particular region of the world where women artists are massively greater valued than male artists. And actually, it's also not so. Some of the results are quite counterintuitive. For example, and maybe Ola, you could say a word on it. You see from the statistics that, for example, Europe is not performing very well in terms of balance, whereas actually Africa and Middle East is not that bad in terms of gap in between. Again, it's medium prices. We should be careful with numbers, but I thought it was interesting to share the statistics. Ola, do you want to have some reactions either on that or regarding radical steps?
Well, I would like to just give a little feedback on both issues. You know, it's very interesting also what the lady spoke about. You know, about art is art. You know, just like I remember some years back, late 90s, early 2000s, when this concept of African contemporary artists started to boil over, you know. So there were some of us, myself in particular, talking for myself, totally refused that, you know, to be classified like African artists. You know, I find that well, what's that supposed to be? So it was kind of like, okay, that was a new trend, this new African contemporary artists. Like they just came, they were deposited from some other place, you know. And most of the guys they're talking about were born in Europe, grew up in Europe, you know. They're black, but my colleagues, they know more about Marcel Duchamp than anything African, you know, and they start to classify them as African contemporary artists. What's up with you guys, you know? Are you too proud? Say, yes, exactly, we are too proud. So, not about living the African mess, but to say, what's this nonsense? What if I'm a pilot? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this flight. It's your African pilot speaking. You know, what's that? So it's ridiculous in art to adopt that. And it's then clicked that, okay, we're in the period of tagging, hashtag, you know, contemporary culture. Everything is tagged. And once it's tagged, there's an overview to it, you know? So I don't think, personally, that there should be female art. You know, art is art, you know? It's good, it's nice. So fighting as to say, oh, this one qualifies to be art, first of all, because of kind of gender. It's an insult to art. You see, yeah. Independent also where you're from. There's some cultures where only women do the decorative works, the fanciful works, the weaving, the carving, anything you can consider art, you know? So it's very, it's a very delicate thing also to want to be tagged, because that doesn't eventually give you room to maneuver. So it's woman's art. You know how cruel that is? There will be a price limit to it. There will be a size limit to it. There will be color limit, then it comes with all that burden also.
Yeah.
I think art is art any day. And
yeah, and but this is a critical aspect. I mean, there could have, I don't know actually if there's been, but there could have been some experiments done on this question of whether, let's say, you could do, you know, a completely anonymous exhibition where you actually don't know who actually made the art, whether it's male or female. At the same time, we know that in order to enter in relation to the artworks, sometimes we also know that the identity of the artist, the life of the artist itself, helps understanding the process of the art creation. And some, at least that's some of the arguments in saying, yes, art quality should be without identity in a way, but at the same time, the quality, or at least the sense, the meaning of some artworks can only be understood and can only be valued through understanding the life of the artist himself, the context where he's been experiencing, from the life he had or she had, and so on. So it's a very challenging thing. Zaahirah, do you want to?
Yes, I want to add, and I wanted to support what Kuku just said when he mentioned about a lot of people also ask, where are you from? So I'm just going a bit, especially in Dubai, because it's a very cosmopolitan society. First thing they will ask you, where are you from? And for me, this in their mind, people already categorize, and it's really rude in a way to ask people, same like, oh, this is a male artist, or this is a female artist. I totally agree. And what you just mentioned as well, I would like to react. It's good, but at the same time, I think to not mention if the gender of the artist, but at the same time, as an artist, now I'm removing the chapeau of a curator. As an artist, I would like also to feel the sense of appartenance. This is my art, right? So this is my identity. And people appreciate art when they know the artist, when they know the story of the artist. So this is also very important. I think with all the debates, the digitalization of arts and so on, things are moving in the right direction, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
No, just to go one little step further. I live in Brussels, and most sales in what you call art here in Brussels goes on in an area called the Sablon. These are masks, really African objects that without, I mean, most of, yeah, of course, you get some authentic stuff, but a lot of fakes and a lot of nonsense. These are art without artists. They just come up with some authentication of a paper, and those are what, 300,000. So to say an art piece has to be associated to an artist, that's one part of the art world and the art market discussion. They're pieces of object that just belong to some village, came out of some, they just need some provenance. Oh, it's from this tribe, it's from 300 years ago. And I mean, that's as active as anything contemporary that you're talking about today. And most of those objects, now that's where it's funny. Some are female statues, some are, you know, this is where something, it overrules even all what we're talking about in another aspect of art. So people would do anything to get the female or shoe figure of the Yoruba culture of a statue that's, you know, so that's importance to femininity and female in art also, depending on what we're talking about. So in Brussels, you can go to the galleries, that's one, but go to the Sablon, 10 times more business being done there with artworks that you cannot associate to artists. Isn't that crazy? You know, so.
Yeah, definitely. So now, first, thank you for those first reactions, inputs, and experience sharing. The whole point is also that we open up the conversation largely with the rest of our participants who join us. There is some questions in the chat. So I now invite kind of a plenary session where I invite participants to intervene in the conversation. And maybe I could start by, so if you have some key questions, don't hesitate to write them down in the chat, so that we can pick up some of the questions. Maybe we could start with one of, so now the point is also to look at potential solutions. Of course, we're not naive. We know that, you know, in 2 hours, we will not solve a worldwide challenge, but let's still think positively about proactive actions and solutions. So I would like to maybe invite Anne-Claire, who has raised at least 2 points. Maybe Anne-Claire, you can decide which one you want to raise first. I see that you raised one potential idea, which is to short circuit the traditional art galleries, meaning can we also go without them? Can we invent other places where we could exhibit one artist? And that goes very much with what Kuku has said as well, in saying if all the art market is confiscated by galleries and art auctions, that limits a lot the place where art can be exhibited. And at the same time, Anne-Claire, you can complement with your second question, which is, does the digital world open up an actual more democratic space and less maybe elitist space for not only artists, but also potential art amateurs who don't necessarily feel welcome or comfortable entering in a very classy all-white gallery on a vernissage day? Anne-Claire?
Yes, good afternoon to everybody. It was quite interesting to hear you. I am not personally an artist, then it's quite difficult for me to talk as an artist. But I think there are several ways to improve the present situation. And my question was to how we can imagine to short-circuit the traditional art galleries. And for instance, I am a member of an international non-governmental organization, and we every 2 years we organize a women exhibition. We gather women artists, but in all fields, not only painting. Okay, and for instance, on next March we'll have 80 exhibitors, women exhibitors, and we will have about 2,000 people attending this exhibition. Mm-hmm. And we communicate on all social networks to promote these events and also this kind of artists. Then I believe that there are many ways to improve the present situation. And I think that the figures you present are mainly very well-known artists are concerned by these figures. But I think the average of the women artists are not integrated in these statistics.
Absolutely, yes, that's a very good point, and that relates to what we were saying earlier, meaning that we have some kind of super women artists who get in all exhibitions, in all art fairs. They're the top women artists, and we mentioned some of them, Louise Bourgeois, Yaya Kusuma, etc. Everyone knows them. They're like big stars. But indeed, that's like 1% of actual women artists who get to the top. The 99%, as you say, are either not so known or struggling with entering into the art world. Yeah, definitely. Zaahirah, do you want to react? Or
I think we women were a bit complex in nature. I don't know if all the women will agree with me, but we are special. And I'm proud to say that because, you know, we are sometimes multi-skills. We said we can do this, we can do that. And, but one thing that I would like to add is if we really want to bring change, I think have three secrets what we are doing here in Dubai, because when we start Art Connect Women, we started with 20 women artists from 20 different countries. It was in March for the International Women's Day. And then the following year, when I launched the call, we received around 170 applications. So, and then I realized there is a pressing needs for women artists to come together. And then we make it a project, and it's an annual rendezvous for people, for women artists from across the world. They travel to Dubai. Luckily this year, it was just right before the lockdown. We had 100 female artists from 100 different countries who fly over. And then we don't do just a normal exhibition. It's a full set of capacity building. So what we do advocacy, we do capacity building, and we had a conference where we partner with Dubai Opera, and then we had also a fashion show this year. So it's a full-fledged. So when you talk to women, as I mentioned initially, we are complex, and we think that we know everything, and yet we still need to learn from others. And my experience with all these women artists, I mean, some of the women artists, they don't speak the same language, women coming from different backgrounds, different ethnic group, different cultures, different background, but yet they all speak the same language, and they develop this camaraderie sense where they learn from each other. And we'll go back again to my point on advocacy. I'm a strong believer of advocacy, because when we talk about advocacy, it's not only about artists, it's also about curators, collectors, especially collectors, art dealers, galleries, to break these stereotypes and promote a gender balance in all your show. Male and female arts should be given the same importance and the same value.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. And talking about art dealers, Shivani, do you want to share your thoughts with us? You wrote in the chat some points on this question of what's the role of art dealers, and especially of the women art dealers. I don't know if you actually know, there is an international association of women art dealers, which has been created a couple of years ago.
Member of it.
Oh, you're a member of it. Great. We're so happy to have you. Could you share your reflections on that?
I'm a member of it since the last 8 years almost, I think, since it was incepted. And I've been an art dealer and a curator in India and Dubai since 18 years now. And, you know, even when we talk about India, we talk about anywhere.
Oh, I think we've lost you for a few seconds, no? Am I right? Shivani, we've lost you. So maybe you could turn off your video. Let me maybe turn off the video for you to see if the connection will be better. Shivani, we've lost you. Please come back. Okay, so I guess Shivani is having a technical problem. Maybe could someone say a word in the chat to tell her that we've kind of lost her, probably due to connection problem?
I'm here.
Oh, you're back. You're back. So maybe just in case, turn off your video so that we're sure your connection will be smooth and that we can all hear you.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
You know, and that's like we're always trying to do that, even with Zaahirah doing this art connect for women. It's an awesome thing. And, you know, even I'm having a show next week for women, and, you know, but my problem is that we always have to do this a special thing. And whereas the male dominated society of us doesn't need to do that. And that kind of really is the core, you know, it's like the core that needs to change, is what I feel.
Mhm.
And I feel that, you know, that is something we need to explain to every buyer of ours. We need to, you know, we need to get out of that mindset of women are doing this as a hobby and we are multitaskers, so everything we can, so we can do everything. We can cook, we can stitch, so, and oh, and we can paint. You know, that mindset needs to kind of change.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is my
That's a very good point, and that also relates. We were having this discussion with Jemima Kulumba, the founder of Women in Art, about the fact that there is. I mean, it's a multi-action kind of thing. There is not. We know there is not one miracle key single solution. It's a complementary set of actions that which can help to contribute. As you say, it's by exhibiting, it's by building archives about women in art. It's about also probably, we will have probably a WIA conversation about that, but the place of women artists in art education. I mean, I don't know for you, but I grew up in France, and during Renaissance and so on, when we were doing art history, I've never heard about one single woman artist from the Renaissance.
Coming to that, I wanted to just pinpoint, you know, when the Last Supper series were made by so many male artists, but there was only one female who made the Last Supper, and it was not recognized. And one church somewhere, I think in France only, I'm not sure where, but they kept that, and it's one of the most valued paintings now there. And much later on, did people even acknowledge the fact that it was a Last Supper was actually made by a woman artist, because they never acknowledged that. You know, it, because you were not allowed to exhibit. You were an exhibition, but you were never allowed to exhibit your own work. Even with how can I forget his name, the sculptures who he kind of like, because his girlfriend was his subject, she became way more famous than him. He destroyed all her talent and her artwork and got her executed. So, you know, there are people who've done, so it's like a long baggage of history that needs to change, and unfortunately it's still not changed that much. I was shocked to see your numbers today. I never gave them such a thought, to be very honest, but yeah.
Can I add something on, you spoke, Christophe, about the woman education in arts. Again, the capacity building is very important. Education of artists, they should be more equipped with different sets of skills like communication, marketing, leadership, finance, because at the end of the day, they are an entrepreneur. And once you know those set of skills parallel to your artist, so it makes a difference. And I think we launched a program here. It's called Artist Empowerment Program. And most our students, I'm not student, most of the participants were female artists, but it was open for male and female. But luckily, female artists were more interested to educate themselves than male artists. So this is just...
It is your profession. It is your profession. It is something that I tell all my artists. Don't forget, it is your profession. The fact that you don't give me your paintings on time or not even tell me that, okay, this is sold and I'm still trying to sell it for you. You got to be more with it, and you know, it is your profession. I understand the art part of it, but you know, you have to live. If you're living off it also, you have to also get more streamlined in any field. So that's another thing. I face a lot of that issue with artists.
Yeah. Do we have other participants who like to share some reflections? And I know we do have people working in different fields in the audience. Do you want to share some reflections, ask questions to our speakers? It's the whole point is to have a really open conversation about that. So feel free to do so. Don't be shy.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe that in School of Fine Arts, there are much more female than males.
Yes.
And how can we get this situation now? Because it's strange.
Absolutely. So you're very right. In average, we so it depends from one school to another. But in average, in art schools, we have around 60 to 70% of women, and indeed, they massively kind of disappear from the art world as soon as they get out of school. For multiple reasons, I guess, and maybe some of our speakers could share some of their points on this. So how come we train so many women artists, and where do they vanish? Where do they disappear?
That's right.
I think, if I may add, I think the reason why parents or partners discourage their children or partners to study arts is that you will not get a job. You know, Picasso and all these big names, they were living not a rich life. You know, so it's kind of an assumption. But also, when those artists, they are graduated, what do they do? What do they end up? So they end up in a school teaching students. I mean, this is from my personal perspective. So I know a lot of students, once they graduate, so the first job, they will go and do the teaching. And then they start losing a bit the trend. They start losing themselves as an artist. When we do, I also curate the first Mauritius International Art Fair last year. When we curate, I met a lot of artists in Mauritius, and they were, I can say 70% of them, they were teachers, not artists. But they participate. They say, you know, we are not selling our work. So at the end of the day, I have to pay my bill, and I have I have children. I have, you know, so I have to work. And that's the job that they are doing. And they lose the essence as an artist. We, yes, Marie, and Claire.
Yes, but don't you think that the situation is the same for the males? I mean,
yeah, it's both.
Because they have to find a job, and in many countries, males have to work. I mean, they support the families. Then perhaps it's worse for them than for girls. Then your explanation doesn't give all the keys, you mean?
It's both. It's for both. I'm not talking about gender parity. It's for both male and female. Because of course, when you just graduated, you are not an artist. It takes years and years to be an artist. So it takes time, patience, perseverance, consistency. So all these add up to be an artist.
So there is this question of young artists and the difficulty to
emerging, yes.
Ola-dele, Kuku,
Yes.
you add something?
I think that sometimes we're stuck with the, I think, Western perception of what is art, what is artist, and all this discussion comes from that perspective. You know, there are people in most developing countries who are really good artists, just make little boats and little animals and sell to tourists. And tourists are always buying those. And when you ask the guy, what are you? So I'm an artist. You know, you can either laugh and go away, but he has no problems with any gallery. He has no problem with any museum. And in fact, he sells more than any other artist who is claiming that he's a joke, you know? So this thing is about value. You know, as an artist, I know the value of a work is what the buyer offers you. I mean, full stop, you see? And to go further than that, there has to be the add-ons, you know? Yeah, it's from a gallery and it's from a this. Those for me, they're add-ons. What would a guy in the street give you for that? You see, who really, I mean, art is not medication. It's not like aspirin. You don't look at art and feel the same, you know? When you take a piece of medication, everybody feels the same about it. You feel good, you know? So we cannot also, there's no consensus about what's good art, what's expensive art, what's valuable art. That comes with the tagging and with the add-ons, you know. Value in the end, I would say, look at COVID arrived, galleries closed, artists start to cry in their homes. Oh, the galleries are closed. Yeah, like they were selling before, you know, like what was, you know, so it's kind of like you saw how useless this whole art topic is, because you're told to go back home, lock yourself up. So you, your canvas, your paint, to hell with everything, you know. So what's the value in the end? And
there is one key point that I would like to echo from what you said. We were in Senegal last year with Jemima for Women in Art, where we met some people in Dakar, in Ziguinchor. I don't know actually if they've joined us, but they really want to also work on this question of women artists. And just to tell the little story that echoes very much what you just said, is we had the chance to go to a small kind of art market in Dakar. No, it was in Ziguinchor, in Casamance, in the south of Senegal. And it was called, I think, the Crafts Village, or the Arts and Crafts Village. And we discussed with some of the sculptors who were there. And they were all doing pretty much all the same things, the same objects, small elephants, etc. Very well crafted, but still all the same, and like not so original, not so unique. And you could find them in the middle of the big bazaar in Dakar or there. And we started discussing with the guy and saying, what have you done? And he says, well, I'm actually out. I went out I graduated from the School of Beaux-Arts of Dakar a couple of years ago. And the guy is selling in his small market some classic sculptures of elephants, etc. Because, as you just said, Ola-dele, that's what the tourists buy. But actually, we were like, but it's such a shame that you are actually restraining yourself from making your own art because you're convinced that tourists will only buy the touristic sculptures. And we actually, what was very also funny is we bought from him a couple of sculptures, which was very unique. It was the only thing unique in his shop. All the rest was similar to the next shop. He gave it, I mean, we bought it, he handed the sculpture to us, and we said, yeah, but it's not signed. And he says, why would I sign it? He says, well, if you're an artist, you should deserve to sign your object. It's unique, it's part of the value, it's your piece that you made. And so he actually signed it, but it was the first time he was ever asked to sign one of his sculptures. So it's very true also, as you say, Kuku, that there is this frustration in saying, I went to Beaux-Arts, I graduated from Beaux-Arts, I'm out, yet I still need to make my living, as you say, to make my money. I'm selling it in the street, yet I actually almost self-censor myself from my own art just to enter in a market where, as you say, here it's the market for tourists, where they don't ask for, or at least they don't think the tourists ask for very unique pieces.
Exactly, you know, that's a very big aspect of being an artist, you know. The art does not finish after the work is finished. Part of being an artist is to incorporate what's going to happen to my work. You know, a lot of artists don't think further than that. And that's their problem. That's their fault. So everything that reduces everything you've done to the ability of somebody else to deal with, it's a very miscalculated process. By that I mean, during the COVID, for example, okay, nobody had anything to do during the first lockdown. And then we said, of course, we're artists. why should we be locked down? You know, so we should be first responders. So whatever happened to social responsibility in art, you know, so it's all about, you know, in this Western philosophy or attitude that you do your art, then you find a gallery, then they sell it, and then you're successful. That's so bad. That's so abusive. I mean, to be an artist, first of all, it's such an elusive, privileged society, you know, situation where you just want to paint and then you expect everybody else to leave what they're doing, come on an evening to look at your paintings, like what? That will resolve what in their problem? I mean, we can look at it critically, that why should I leave what I'm doing to come to your show? Then you have to start to get a little bit philosophical, theoretical. That's if I'm listening, you know, and that's the truth. You really have to have eaten well. You must be in good health. You must be without much problem to say, I'm going to an exhibition. I mean, look at all that the state of life you have to be. So it's a very privileged part of being. When you talk about art, artists, it's very spoiled, becoming too spoiled, you know? So the social aspect of it, what do we do to society? What do we give back? That's becoming invisible right now. So if we cannot use art, for example, as fundraising element, we did that eventually for COVID in order to get interest of the so rich people that never have time for artists. So what do? So, well, we're artists. We're also first responders. The people dying, we can raise money. Yeah, how? We will sell our work. How? Well, Red Cross, you there, you join us, and we're going to advertise this, and we're going to get all those people from all those big companies to come to see this. You know, it did happen.
Yeah.
So art as a means, we're not suffering. We're not made to suffer as artists. We're meant to be part of the problem, of the solutions to social problems. So at some point, artists can come together, put themselves important that we are going. We're getting the Red Cross, UNESCO, we're getting all these people. We're donating our works to raise money for what's going on. And that was incredibly successful.
There is one point that you're mentioning. The
COVID period. Well,
yeah, there is one point that you were saying that I also find very true, and we said it quite earlier in the conversation, which is that the art market is a very strange thing. You know, there is. I mean, we have artists producing art, and there is a very specific world, which is the art market, and it's functioning in only one or two ways. You know, it's art fairs, art galleries selling to art collectors, and it's a very, very closed thing, and it's kind of there is only one path, and this is also why it is so difficult for young artists to come in. It's like there is only one way to
yes, because
that
was created.
Known.
That was created.
And
also.
Absolutely. And I think we need to be more creative in the ways we can sell art. And I think there is one, and it's been mentioned earlier. We also know that, and it's a bit of a revolution, that many artists are now becoming to be known through social media and online solutions. People having their Instagrams, having their websites, having a displaying, and it's quite incredible to see that they found a completely new audience, which is completely different from
Exactly.
the classic elite of the art collectors and so on. Did you guys want to react on that? Yeah.
I think what you mentioned, Christophe, especially the lockdown, was a blessing for the artist world, because we were not busy, so we were more creative, productive, and just focusing on our work. Myself, I have created a collection of 40 pieces during the lockdown, and I did my exhibition at l'Alliance Française in August, and I sold a couple of pieces. And to tell you honestly, because usually I'm very busy organizing and curating shows and doing so many things at the same time, but the lockdown was a blessing. Also, you talk about social media. Lots of artists, we did a webinar and a training on social media where we empower the artists because they have their channel. It's an opportunity for them to digitalize their work and to make maximum use of this opportunity. And how they create their website. Some artists, they have the skills, others they don't have. Some are more tech savvy, others don't know. So it's about the empowerment. And I think I will come back to my point again. Being an artist also means we need to educate ourselves, constantly educate ourselves, because if we want to, the market will change, the routine, the process of the art market will change over the years. See, before the COVID, we would never imagine I can meet Jemima, for example, right? So now we are sitting in different part of the world, we're having this wonderful conversation through a Zoom, so things are changing. And I don't need to travel to Belgium to attend exhibition. We have this 360 virtual exhibition now. So it's kind of modernize the whole things that, you know, creating accessibility and availability. And I think artists need to take this as an opportunity and educate themselves and, you know, just take it forward, because then what will happen, they will left behind because the market is moving very fast and with a stride pace. So we need to move together with the trend.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Jemima, do you want to say a word?
Yes,
Because your mic was not...
Yes, I wanted to say a general comment about how art transitioned from when we talk about history, from the very realistic, from personification to the abstract to the digital and the virtual. So we're with globalization and with everything that's happening in the world, and more connections are being found, and the networking is becoming so much easier, and our problems are becoming actually one. So instead of looking at differences, we should start looking at similarities. Art at a point in time used to speak of nations and identity and gender and categorization. But now with globalization, things are becoming more we can all connect at any point in time. Just like Zaahirah was mentioning, we're on one platform now. So exhibition, the way people are going to exhibit art is going to change. We're going to the market is going to change. We're going to sell, things are going to be sold virtually, and there's a leap happening. There's a revolution happening, just like Zaahirah was saying. So I think that with that, also the idea of gender imparity and gender imbalance is going to shift 100%, because now it's not about who created the art or the story. Definitely there has to be a story, but the story is becoming one. And we're transitioning more towards oneness. I believe that on a universal level, we're moving towards consciousness. And it's things have becoming we're finding common ground more. So with that, I believe that identity issues need to drop, gender issues need to drop, and more things in common, more equality, even not only related to race, but related to like humanity.
That's a very positive and optimistic way of looking at things, and we share, of course, this hope, and that's the whole point also behind the Women in Art and this project. Maybe Jemima, now, if your mic is working, you could say one word about also the ambition of why Women in Art.
Hi everyone. I'm Jemima Kulumba. I'm the event organizer in Brussels, and I'm also the managing director of the Biennale of Women in Art. And here it's a really interesting conversation to me, because it's really important to us to start with the first conversation with some kind of subject not too easy to having a solution of idea of solution. The Women in Art and the art market is subject is really important for the Biennale of Women in Art, because we are a lot about we discuss a lot about the woman place in the world, but also the woman artists, the place in the education world and cultural sector. And here, for come back to UK question, I think really for us the educational sector in the art is really important to go to the art school and outside. Many teachers in the art school in the Belgium here deal with the theme as women artists and the art market. Unfortunately, it's not the administration behind that doesn't follow or simply forgets the following and supports this initiative. Mm-hmm. And this is a problematic here in Belgium. This is problematic because I think also in all the world it's not the same problematic. It's really different in the country. If you are in New York City, it's a different problematic. In Dubai also maybe it's a different problematic. This is also a different reality in all the world, but the problematic is the same. Yeah. Is the same in this not really the same, but I think really is the same way. So if we're going to New York, the problematic is that in New York, you say before we have the National Museum of Women in Arts, I think is that
Washington.
And yes, it's Washington. Sorry, and this is this museum is really interesting because there are many artists around the world, not alone only American artists, but also Dubai artists, Belgian artists, France artists. So there's many artists, but they have not found the administration behind don't follow, and this is the real problem, because we can do something and some action and support women but if the people don't follow, political people don't follow, it's really difficult to having a great impact and sustainable impact for changing thing. So for us here, for the Biennale of Women in Arts, it's really important to have the sustainable solution right now, because talking about the problematic and solutions, of course, around the women artists in the cultural sector really is really important. And this is a first step. But the two step is for us to having sustainable solution and concrete action to give to people and public and citizens of the world some step and some baggage to continue their art, to continue their belief in art, in equality in the art also. So this is what we do, and this is why we do this conversation today. Mm-hmm. So thank you for joining us. Really, it was really interesting. I don't talk a lot because I just following.
No, that's all right. That's also the whole spirit.
Active listening.
You invited everyone and made that great casting of our speakers. Of course, it's just also beginning a continuous conversation. It's very important that many of the things that we've discussed can also be kind of integrated in some of the actions that women in art here could take. It's very clear also that, as you say, Zaahirah and Eman and Kuku, that there is a need to also raise awareness. I think there are many points on, I mean, many issues where we don't even see it as an issue. You were talking about teachers and education. I myself, as a designer, had a woman art teacher, art history teacher. Herself, I don't think she even questioned whether or not there were women missing in her course. I think she didn't even realize it. So I think there is a clear need to raise awareness, to share those numbers, to have people react. And this is just, of course, the continuous journey. Maybe one word, because I would like us not to go over time too much, and we believe very much in the fact that time should be kind of respected and valued. So just to share a few things with you, 2020 is a year quite challenged by COVID, but anyway, from Women in Art, we still try to have those first micro events, whether online panels, small exhibitions, etc., throughout the year 2020. Our ambition is that by 2020, we do our first prototype of Biennale of Women in Art. We call it the edition 0 because it's also trying out where it's a test. Will the audience be reactive? Will the public show up? Will the experts and collectors, etc., will respond? And the ambition is to have our first, more major edition of the Biennale of Women in Art by 2023. And of course, this is a lot of work, but we're also starting not only to raise this awareness, but also to build this community of actors who definitely need to collaborate and to work together. And we're also very happy to have you all here, because you're such experienced people and with great projects that you're all doing. And I know we didn't have necessarily the chance to give a voice to all the audience present in the room, but I know that it's a concern that many of you have to work on this promotion and support of women artists. So we thank you all for joining the first Women in Art conversation. Of course, there is the Women in Art community on Facebook. Don't hesitate to join and to share if it's not already done. This is a good sign because our Women in Art community on Facebook, and that was built by Jemima, and I think we have now reached 1,500 people on the community, which also shows there is a great and growing interest for the topic. And of course, there is the website for the upcoming events. I'm just showing very quickly with you on the website. There are some questions that were raised earlier in the chat. On the website of the Biennale of Women in Art, we try, as well as on the Facebook, to also share as many resources as we can. So please don't hesitate to send us resources, to send us some events, both that we can promote on the Facebook, but as well, if you go in resources, for those who wish to know more, of course, the whole presentation we had this morning, today, will be uploaded, but you also have a whole series of books on women artists, on women art history, that are very interesting to go through and to share. There's been some podcasts made, not by us, but some other actors worldwide. So we try to share those as well, as they also help going further some interesting documentaries. We talked about women in art history. There is a very interesting series of videos in 3 episodes that talks about women artists in the Renaissance and later times, in modern times. So there are many resources. We try through Women in Art to gather all that and to go further in this exciting and yet challenging journey. Don't hesitate to also give some feedback on this first conversation, because it's for us a complete experiment. We really wanted to try out something all together, and we plan to have more of those online conversations as well as physical gatherings, because it's still nicer to be able to share a drink together as we discuss and spend time in conviviality. So that's the whole journey. So maybe does someone, each of our speaker, maybe one word to end the conversation. So Eman, could you say, you want to say one word before we close?
I just want to say that I am hopeful, and I believe that the situation nowadays is better than it used to, and we're moving forward. So I'm quite positive that things are going to get better.
Zaahirah? Your mic is...
I'm mute. I'm sorry. I just want to show you guys a book which we launched this year. It's our 2nd edition. I don't know, the lighting is not, so it's called Women Artists Around the World. And this year, it's quite robust. So we feature 100 female artists from 100 different countries. So hopefully one day we meet and I'll hand you over a copy of the book. So it's also online. You can check us out on thearts.net. My message to all the women artists who are now on this platform is be the artist with a voice. Be the woman that make a difference for your arts. Be the woman that your names will be recorded in the art scene. Be the woman that make us proud. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. And we will add this book to the library on the website.
Yes, yes. Magnifique. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Kuku, do you want to say a word?
Yeah, well, it's been quite interesting. I just still believe that you know, without any kind of prejudice, art is art, you know, and I do believe that there is before we can even tag anything anymore, we really have to also have a sense of involvement, you know. So I don't think it's enough just being an artist, either male or female today. There must be some kind of involvement, which means some kind of social contribution. It's not art for how much we can make, you know. It's about art for how much we can give, you see. So it's more about contribution art. It's not about taking, in fact. So that's what I'd like to add.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your comments and add-ons. Of course, this is, as we said, just the beginning for us. We really want to push all the solutions that we discussed here, the potential path at least. And there are many also solutions that exist already out there. Whether it's, you know, the Women Art Fair based in London, the Residence Arts here in Belgium also, in New York, the Superfine Art Fair, Minneapolis Women's Art Festival, which is online. In Winnipeg, we have the Mentoring Artists for Women Art in Brussels. The Affordable Art Fair also is sensitive to this question of women in art. So there are many solutions out there. You're all actors building the solutions. So we really need to kind of join all those solutions together, connect them so that we don't work in silos, you know, independent from one another, but that we build this greater community and have greater power and impact on the world, hopefully. Again, so this is the whole conversation, the content will be made available on the website as well in the WIA conversation section. So we will try also to put all the articles and resources that we have found when preparing this presentation and conversation, but don't hesitate to contribute and to send us some resources, to send them some articles if you have any. I think that we're now good to close the this first Women in Art conversation. Thank you for joining this experiment. We're very happy to have you here. Thank you for Jemima for organizing it, for bringing those great people together with us in this conversation. And thank you all of you for joining it. And we keep in touch very soon for future Women in Art events. Thank you all and have a fabulous weekend.
Thank you so much.